Well, our first election candidate this morning is Richard Falk, who is standing in Douglas Central. He's 49 years old, single and an advertising copywriter and author. Originally from Hove and a former councillor, his interests include underground rock music, vintage transport and fine dining. Good morning.
Hello.
Start with vintage transport then. Where should the horse trams run to and from, and on what part of the promenade?
They should run from the town centre to the MER. They provide a link between the two. They're not simply a tourist attraction. They are a feeder service for the MER. They're a broader part of our transport network. I'm less concerned about where they run. If it were left to me, I would keep them in the middle of the road. I think the health and safety implications have been overstated. On-road tram networks run in a number of other towns and cities, and they appear to be perfectly safe.
Douglas Promenade, a large sum of money already been spent, and there's nothing to show for
Precisely.
it. What's your solution?
I think we need to get on with it. We need to find a solution that is affordable. I think we should not be looking at a grandiose scheme costing £21 million. We need to resurface the road, but we certainly don't need this whole-scale remodelling that I think is actually very unsympathetic to the Victorian heritage of Douglas.
Your draft manifesto, I've had a sight of that, says the island is 4 years away from bankruptcy. Other sub-headlines, the pension scheme that swallowed an island, it's time to end rip-off Isle of Man. A negative campaign, some might say. Do you have an optimistic side? It's the light at the end of a dark tunnel, particularly in light of what Eddie Tear has been saying on the programme.
Eddie Tear, I think, has been a little disingenuous. The figure he quotes is quite correct. The £1.5 billion is the sum total of all government reserves. That takes in the cash reserve, the National Insurance Fund and the Public Sector Pensions Reserve. The figure I'm concerned with, of course, is cash reserve. The NI Fund is not intended to fund revenue spending. The government's made it as difficult as possible to ascertain its cash reserve position in its accounts, but from what I can tell, based on spending over the last 7 years, about a third of that figure is cash reserves. And in this year, we are projected to transfer £117 million out of those reserves, which gives us 4 years until the fund is exhausted.
Have you spoken to the Treasury Minister? He said only 10 or so had approached him.
I haven't. I think he has, let's say, some skin in this game, and I think I would not have got an unbiased opinion.
Public sector pensions, then, your solution?
I think we need to freeze benefits under the present scheme, which is a final salary scheme. That will ensure that our public servants get the benefits they've already accrued, but future contributions should go into a money purchase scheme. Otherwise, I think we're in real danger of defaulting on their pensions.
Would you be able to bring the unions and those people who've paid into the schemes quite honestly and genuinely?
Based on the feedback I've had on the doorstep, very much so. Most of the civil servants I've spoken to believe that the government may default on their pensions. What they would like is certainty, even if it's a certainty of getting a slightly smaller amount at the end of the day.
You mention the constantly lengthening waiting lists at the hospital. Of course, it's got to be attractive for medical staff to come over here.
Precisely, and as long as we have pensions uncertainty, we are going to struggle to recruit.
Let's go to a current story then. How would you have handled the Vision 9 TT promoters saga?
I believe we are quite capable of promoting this in-house. We've done so for many years. We've had no difficulty in attracting large numbers of visitors. In fact, in the last year, we could have attracted more visitors had the steam packet offered more capacity.
Just turning to the MEA and Manx Gas, is competition needed?
I think it very certainly is. If one looks at the new charging structure from Manx Gas, this was designed for its own benefit. It was designed to provide more predictable revenues. Had they faced competition in the market, I don't believe they would have introduced such a structure. And I think the fact that the Office of Fair Trading permitted it without a whimper shows that they are a supine and toothless watchdog.
10-second answer, toilet tax.
It should be charged differently. It should be on a usage basis.